Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is actress Irina Maleeva and actor Frank Ferrante. Irina Maleeva was born in Bulgaria. She left to go to Italy and pursue an acting career. She received a degree in painting and stage design from the Academy of Art in Rome and went on to study at Cinecittà Drama and Film School in Rome. And she also went to the Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. She's worked in film, television, and on the stage, and with the greatest people in the business. Names like Orson Welles and Terence Stamp, Dino De Laurentiis, Federico Fellini, Luchino Visconti. I mean, Irina, it's gone on and on. She's performed in a one-woman autobiographical musical called Passion, Pain, and Occasional Vodka. Since it was about your life, why did Jack Wrangler write it?
Because I met Jack last summer. I was picked out of some singers to go to the Eugene O'Neill Theater in New York, in Connecticut, actually. And I was working there with wonderful people, and Jack was one of them. So we were singing every single day, having performances, and then I asked him to direct my show in New York, and I took him from New York to do this show.
And then did you work with him in writing it?
Well, they're all my own stories. So what he did is I was telling him stories at lunch, and he was writing them, and then he came up with this whole idea.
So it's your pain, your passion.
Right, and he's writing.
He's writing.
And my vodka, and his vodka.
You started in Bulgaria, but was that a very big film town?
Well, I was just a child actress when I was 8 years old. So that's when I started, and it was mainly because I got an audition and I just won some kind of competition for children. I was like a little Bulgarian Shirley Temple.
In Sofia?
Yes.
Were you on stage then? Or
well, it was television.
Oh, it was?
Television was every Monday morning for children. And but my mother was on stage, so I ended up also performing with her on stage a little bit.
So you had some kind of show business in your background.
Yes.
And then was she the one who was instrumental in sending you to Italy, or did she go with you?
That was my deal with her. I wanted to go to Italy, and she promised me that she'll send me there, so she did.
Did she come with you?
Well, my father really was partly Italian.
Oh.
So the deal was that I wanted to live in Italy, so she agreed to that, and I went to Italy.
Well, when you were in Sofia then, you were speaking Bulgarian and Italian, so it must have come...
And French, a lot of different languages, yeah.
In Sofia?
In Sofia, yeah. I started as a child with the languages.
Because you speak, what, 6 languages?
7.
Oh, I thought that was husbands, 7.
Well, they might go even higher, the husbands. I don't know, but the languages are still 7. Well, you know, nobody understands Bulgarian, so you have to learn another language. Everybody knows English, so you don't need to speak any other language. But and I traveled like a gypsy a lot around the world, so I needed to speak the language of each country.
You told some great stories in the play about first acting as a little chicken on the stage, and Antonioni was there. Tell us that story.
It is all true. It is all true.
It is true.
Everything
is so
true.
Charming.
all of these stories are so true. The ending of the story is that actually, after he left, ticking with his terrible tick, and I was so upset.
But tell us the story. tell our viewers the story.
Well, what happened is I was supposed to do a little chanteuse, little girl with all these feathered little tutu and ballet slippers, and I was dancing on stage with feathers and everything. And Antonioni had seen a photo of mine, which was very beautiful and very, very classy. So apparently he came to look for somebody like the photo was. And here suddenly I appear on stage with all these feathers and everything looking so crazy. And I didn't know he had this terrible tic, and he was sitting right on the first row, like yesterday, that close in the theater. And when he started ticking, I just said, oh my God, what's happened? So I went all insane. And then when I went to him, and all the feathers fell down, and he left. But the end of the story was different than here. The end of the story is that he wanted to meet me the next day. And we started a negotiation for the film, but he didn't have a screenplay, and in Italy, it was hard to go and make the movie. So the ending was not that he really forgot about me, but Jack thought it'll be funnier to make it how one person rejected me and then another person liked me.
But the feeling was looking down at him and having him have this tic, which I guess everyone knows was part of his character.
Well, he just had this tic, really, a physical whatever.
And you thought it was a total...
And I just thought that he was so repulsed by my feathers and everything that I thought more I was singing and all these feathers going around.
I think the great thing is that you have worked with all these legends and you have wonderful stories. Federico Fellini. What did you do with him?
With him I did Satyricon, and it's also a true story that his wife, Giulietta Mazzina, she saw me in the theater and she introduced me to him. She just thought that I was the type of actress that he would love, and he did. So the first film was the one which I did with Terence Stamp, and I played a gypsy fortune teller. That was from 3 episodes. It was called Toby Dammit, his episodes, a film with Louis Malle did 1 episode, Vadim another, and Fellini another. So I was in the Fellini episode. And then after that, he likes to use the same actors. Then he took me for Satyricon, and he literally would take your photo, design it, give it to his makeup person, and literally you have to be there at 4:30 in the morning. And they just make you the way he sees you. Transform you, yeah. And I was paid very well. I was very young, so for me it was being in heaven.
Another great legend that you talked about was Orson Welles.
Orson Welles.
And I loved it when you said he ate everything in Italy. There was nothing left.
He really did.
What did you do with him? What were you working with?
Well, there was The Merchant of Venice, and I played the part of Jessica. And it was really incredible. I just adored the man. And what was funny was that everybody feared him. But I was so young that I just loved him. He was the sweetest man I've ever met. And I had absolutely no fear from him. And of course, other funny stories with him were that I was never eating because I was doing another film. And I was so thin, I was always on a diet. And he would put me to sit right next to him and order all of this pasta and everything. And the first night after I ate so much, he said, and he got drunk, he said, well, now let's see Jessica in her costumes. So here I went, these little costumes, they made it tiny for me. I couldn't fit.
Oh, he knew that.
It was but it was an incredible experience. He was just a genius. And not having money, he was inventing different situations of how to work with actors.
Ah, that's what was going on.
That was what was going on. That's why we didn't have one character or another, or the costume of one was missing, and he'll just put him behind a Venetian glass.
Oh.
It was really incredible.
He knew how to create the ambiance of what
without money.
Without money,
without
good.
Money.
Well, then how did you, from without money to America, how did you get to America?
Well, no, after that I did a lot of movies which I don't mention here, and I was very well paid. I must have done over 30 comedies in Italy. I never even mentioned them in the story yesterday.
I see.
With quite well-known people, and I was the lead, and when I mentioned at the end that they put my rear end in the title, it was on big posters all over Rome, so I was paid very well.
And when you came did you come to New York or to Los Angeles?
I came to New York because of this husband that I met in the airplane.
Oh, yes.
So he invited me to New York.
About all these husbands, you said, 7 times. I don't know if that's true.
Well, it is all true.
So he brought you to New York?
So he brought me to New York, and my movies were shown, funny enough, in Brooklyn. And I thought that everybody would know me. So I had to start all over again because of my accent, and I became a singer. That's how I actually became a singer.
Then you were working in clubs.
I was working in clubs, then I did a couple of records, then I was going back to Europe to do movies. I did maybe 10 movies in Greece.
We want to see something. I know you did Moscow on the Hudson, and you did Union City with Deborah Harry, but you also did the Yum Yum
Girls.
Let's see that. Tell us a little bit about it. Who directed it? Never mind.
We have to look at my resume.
Okay.
Oh God, he'll be angry. Well, I was supposed to be, and he was a wonderful director because he let me do whatever I wanted. And I was supposed to be an actress in several different occasions who was just a bad actress, and she couldn't do anything. So in this scene, I was trying to be Carmen Miranda, selling this fruit cocktail. I couldn't say a word, and so on. Then in another scene, I was a singer who couldn't sing because she couldn't say. I mean, I was just the flop.
What do we see?
Well, you see the Carmen Miranda thing.
Okay, let's see that. Irina Maleeva in
Yum Yum Girls.
Yum Yum Girls.
Quick look at the words. That was beautiful. Take a quick look at this. Change the words again. Read the words, sweetheart. Will you please?
If you love to take the fruits cocktail, you'll have the fruit.
If you like the taste of the tropics, you would like to taste the fruit cocktail.
If you love the taste of the tropics, you'll love the fruit cocktails.
Beautiful. Say that for me. When we're doing.
If you love the fruit cocktails,
if you like the taste of the tropics, you'll love fruit cocktails, right? That's what it says there.
If you love the fruit, if you love the, what was it? If you love the taste of fruit cocktails, you'll love the. What was it? If you love the taste of the. If you love the taste of the tropics, you'll love the taste of the fruit. One fruit cocktail.
Read it one more time.
Daddy!
Will you read the goddamn thing straight out once?
Yeah.
Just read. Don't do anything. Read. Just read the goddamn words one after the other. Would you please?
If you love the foot.
No, read the words. Can you read, Carmen?
Love the taste.
No, action.
If you love the taste of the tropics, you'd love the taste of the full of feet cocktails.
Cut! Full of feet, you said. Honey, no.
Did you ever think of doing stand-up comedy?
Oh, I love stand-up comedy. I've done it quite a lot.
Have you?
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is a little secret is that you have a pilot's license.
Yes, I do.
And how did that happen?
I always wanted to fly. I mean, in the show, I say that it was because of my husband. I took a pilot's license and I flew away. Maybe that's why. But I have a lot of hours on plane, and I love to fly. Only I guess people are scared of my flying, like they're scared of my driving.
And scared of you? Maybe so. We're not afraid, and we're happy you were with us today because we have to fly away now too. But
well,
thanks, Irina.
Well, thank you so much. It was delightful.
Thank you, and don't go away because Frank Ferrante is going to be back right after the break. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with actor Frank Ferrante, who is a graduate of the USC Drama Department. Frank was named Best Actor in a Musical for the Connecticut Critics Circle for Animal Crackers. He's been in productions of Guys and Dolls, The Music Man, Beyond Therapy, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and the revival of fashion at the beautiful, newly restored Alex Theater in Glendale. But in Groucho, A Life in Review, he was nominated for London's Laurence Olivier Award. Off-Broadway, he earned an Outer Critics nomination and a Theater World, is that what it was? Theater World Award.
I want to meet him, whoever he is, this guy.
And in 1989, he was Groucho at the Pasadena Playhouse.
That's
So
right.
you are Groucho, you've been Groucho.
I spent a chunk of time portraying Groucho Marx.
How did it all happen?
I liked Groucho from the time I was a kid, from the time I was 10 years old.
Oh, you did?
And I always loved the old comedians, like Milton Berle and Jack Benny and Bob Hope. And as a student of drama at USC, I put on a one-man show about Groucho Marx.
Oh, you had already been into it.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, do you think because you lived in Los Angeles, you were a part of that? Was it closer to you, or?
I know I saw a movie. I saw a Marx Brothers movie, and I fell in love with Groucho.
That was it.
I said, this guy's hilarious. He was impudent and funny, and I was raised in a very Catholic. I was a very strict Catholic background. I was taught by nuns, and so I think I wanted to treat the nuns the way Groucho treated Margaret Dumont in those movies, and that's what started. And I've always, and it opened me up to reading about the theater and so forth. And
Did you ever know him?
I met him a year before he died.
I wondered if you had that opportunity.
I met him in 1976, and he died a year later, and he was promoting a book, and I was 13 years old. And I asked him some questions, and it was wonderful. It was my chance to meet my hero, one of my heroes. And one of the questions that somebody asked him, in this show, Groucho Life in Review, I play Groucho from age 15 to 85. It's a wonderful acting role. But someone asked Groucho, and it was, there Groucho was with his glazed eyes, and he was kind of shuffling up to the podium. And someone asked him what I thought was a particularly cruel question. They said, "Groucho, are you making any new movies?" He took a pause and he said, "No, I'm answering stupid questions."
So he remembered. He was right with it,
He was still
wasn't
quick. Physically he was slow, but mentally he was still there.
How did you do the research for this play? Did you write it, or did someone, for Groucho?
Groucho Marx's son, Arthur, wrote the show.
I have a picture of him, don't
That's
I?
Arthur. That's Arthur, and that's Miriam Marx Allen. Those are Groucho's children. And that's the opening night in New York of the off-Broadway production in 1987. And, but Arthur wrote it with Robert Fisher. And I helped develop it with them. I was able to add and take out things. And that played for a year in New York, and then 6 months in London. But
How did it get to London? Was that a shock for you, going to London?
It was a shock for me to just to work professionally. Was a shock. But he saw me at USC do the show. I invited Arthur to this USC performance.
Oh, I see.
And within a year of that USC performance, we were in New York. It was I was 23 years old playing the title role. There I am.
Here you
Frank
are.
and Groucho.
Frank, you look just like Groucho on this.
That's a good thing.
Do people? Did you grow your own mustache like this?
That's grease paint. Groucho Marx wore a grease paint mustache and grease paint eyebrows on stage on Broadway, and when he was doing the films.
So it wasn't natural.
And when,
what
later,
did you do? Shave your goatee and put this
I grew this for the show I'm doing now, fashion. But when he did You Bet Your Life, he actually had the hair mustache. And you probably have I think you may have a photo of that when he's a little older.
You talked about doing him at all different ages.
Yeah.
What age was that?
That's Groucho at 85. That's when I played him. And the other one was Groucho in his prime. That's the Groucho from One Morning I Shot an Elephant in My Pajamas. How I got in my pajamas, I don't know. That's the Groucho from, and this is Groucho when he had a stroke, and it was he'd sound more like this. He said, "First I'd like to take a bow for Harpo and Chico." And then that's the way. And then You Bet Your Life Groucho, which I think you may have there too somewhere.
Do I have those too?
Where it was. Here it is.
Is this it?
Yes. Welcome,
okay.
welcome to You Bet Your Life. Say the secret word and divide an extra $100. It's a common word, something you see every day. I'm assuming that's my camera, Joan, but if not, I'm talking into a wall, I think.
That's okay. You're talking to me, and I love it.
So anyway.
Wait, we have one more.
Yeah,
so let's do. Which one's this?
That's Groucho during his heyday, and on the right there, or left, I guess right if you're watching this, right? On the same side as they are. Sorry, folks. That's Faith Prince, who won a Tony last year for Guys and Dolls, and Les Marsden was playing Harpo and Chico in that show. And it's great now. That show was a great entree into theater for me. It was 23 years old. Now I direct that show once in a while, and as well as play the part in some wonderful venues. So.
Now, do you think that this Groucho show will just be a part of your life forever?
I hope so, because I love the part. If I'm able to do it in some really nice spots throughout the country for the next 10 years, I'd love it. It's as good as role as you can get.
And what happened with his kids? Did they feel like you were doing things the right way, or were they critical, or how did they react?
His son hired me. Both the kids were there at my USC performance when I was attending there and doing this one-man show, and they loved it. And Arthur hired me based on that performance. And he's a great friend. He came to see me in a show that I'm currently doing. I speak to him about once a week. And he said, it was a particularly poignant moment. We were in London rehearsing for the West End production. And I sing a song as Old Groucho. And he turned to me and said, "Frank, did you know my father?" And he was kind of welled up. And I said, "No, I didn't." But he was very moved by it. But it's a great part. And it's a kind of show where I get to be serious and funny and do stand-up type humor and sing and dance.
Sing and dance. I was going to ask, when did you learn to sing and dance?
A week before the last show I just did.
No, because you have a really great voice.
Thank you. I've never taken a singing lesson until rehearsals for the show I'm currently doing, Fashion.
Is that right?
But I think I've got a good ear, and I'm able to kind of fake my way through. I'm like for the Groucho thing, I was able to pick up on his
What did you sing for
sounds.
Groucho?
I sang Hooray for Captain Spaulding, the African Explorer, his theme song, and Hello, I Must Be Going, and Lydia, oh Lydia, say, have you met Lydia, Lydia the tattooed lady. You know,
Right, all
the old
those-
songs
all
from the
the
film. So there's
songs,
about half a
yeah.
dozen songs and some vaudeville tunes from his earlier career. And so that's what
Did
I
you
did.
get the actions?
I did all the moves and all
Did
the,
you do
the leg
that?
twirls. You need a bigger stage.
No, I
but-
guess.
you know, I did the whole bit.
But
But,
did those things, did they come to you naturally when you're
you know-
talking to me? Would you start falling into some of those Groucho moves? Or are they just Frank moves
Well,
now?
I could do Groucho for you. I can, but that came from a lot of. I did tons of research. I watched every movie, every TV show. I watched him sneeze and cough in TV shows, and I talked to his family, and I saw everything you could see. I figured if I'm a 23-year-old guy going to play Groucho Marx in a show in New York, I better know what I'm doing. And Arthur Marx was nice enough to hire me. He could have hired a name, but he thought I was being true to his father. And this is 9 years ago, and we're still great friends. But I can give you one like a little bit of it. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
My friends, I'm here today to tell you about the wonderful, glorious, mysterious continent known as Africa. Africa's God's country, and he can have it. Well, sir, we left New York drunk and early. You get the idea. Middle age is when you go to bed at night and hope you... You're a good audience. I could use you. Where were you? We need you at every night at Fashion. This is one of my favorite lines. Says, middle age is when you go to bed at night and hope you feel better in the morning. Old age is when you go to bed at night and hope you wake up in the morning.
That's what happens to me. I hope my back won't be hurting
Can
tomorrow
I have some of these
morning.
lemons? Can I take
Did
these
you
with me?
need
I'm out of work in a week. If I could take these, and rose
Listen.
petals are edible too. If I could take those in a doggy bag, I'd appreciate that.
The fashion
Yes.
is like a fade-do farce. Did you
Yes.
feel like you were
Yeah.
part of it? Because
Yes.
that's what you
There were-
looked like to me.
I loved doing that role. Actually, it's some of the most talented people in that show, Fashion. It was done 21 years ago, and it was a big hit critically 21 years ago. And Dale Christian from Phantom is in that show, who did Phantom.
Do I have Dale? I don't
Dale's
have
not in there,
Dale
but we have
Christian.
Lorna Patterson, who
But
was
we have
Private
Lorna
Benjamin.
Patterson.
She was Private Benjamin on television, and she's great. Mary Jo Catlett is in that show.
Right, I have
and-
another one.
And Henrietta Valor there. Yeah, I play a bogus European count, a lecherous count who enters high society. And it's a great part. I get to do kind of a faux Shakespearean thing. And
What about the timing? Was the timing like the Groucho timing in fashion?
it was I thought it was very different. I thought it was nothing like Groucho. That's why I wanted to do it when they came up to me to do it. The theater was going through some, the show was done for nothing. They were going through some difficult times, the Alex Theater in
The Alex
Glendale.
is
Isn't
beautiful,
that gorgeous? It's
too.
a 75-year-old theater.
Very beautifully redone.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And I hope it stays there for a while. Theater in general, since it's going through such a difficult time with the economy, and the earthquake hurt LA theater a lot.
But we have a lot of small theaters,
Mm-hmm.
and they are just really, I think, growing and getting better and better. And we have so many people, like the people you're talking about on stage in this play, are playing in small theaters all over the city.
Exactly, and that's what keeps it going. And I'd like to see, I hope the press becomes more and more, particularly LA Times, becomes more and more supportive of theater in this town, because that's the only, LA Times is the only game in town.
I know.
And 9 out of 10 reviews get slammed. And do you mind if I go off on this for a second?
Just for a second.
Okay, and that's all. It'd be nice to see a little more support for the
Well,
for
I
theater in general.
worked for the Herald Examiner, and of
Oh.
course it died several years ago. And I think we were the only ones who were really going after these kind of
Mm-hmm.
plays and theater and movie reviews, and it kept the LA Times on its toes.
Yeah.
And I think they were much more accountable to the public.
Yeah, I miss the feature stories. 10 years ago, there were many more feature stories, and theater really needs that support.
What about television? We're a television city. Do you work in television?
Not much. I've only done a couple things in TV, and I've spent the last couple of years touring a lot with this, but I'm going to start more and more now.
And film?
Film? Not yet, Joan.
This is really amazing because you've just been born and bred on the stage.
No, I love it. I love the stage, but I'm putting together a comedy demo tape that I'm going to submit to my agents for television and film purposes, actually this month. But it's been great. Getting back to the comedians, I'm a member of the Friars Club. I have another Groucho story for you, and I've become acquaintances with Milton Berle, who now he's one of my gods. He's one of my heroes. I love all the old comics. And he was telling me a story about, and he sponsored my membership to the Friars Club in January. And he told me a story about, he was at the Friars Club with Groucho, and Groucho was puffing on the cigar and pretty much blowing smoke in Berle's face. And Berle says to Groucho, he says, "Groucho, don't you ever inhale?" And Groucho says, "Not when you're in the room."
But did you ever do stand-up yourself as Frank Ferrante?
I'm just about to start actually this month. I've just been talking to the Laugh Factory about emceeing. I've done a lot of emceeing work.
emceeing would be great.
Because I love to ad-lib as Frank, and within my own persona, not the Groucho persona.
But what would you do then? Pick comics to come on, or
what I would do at someplace like the Laugh Factory is go on and introduce the acts and interact with the audience and set up and do my own material.
I see. Then what about, since you're so enamored with the comedians of our time, the great comedians, the legends really, would you be interested in doing another thing, say a Bob Hope thing or a Milton Berle thing?
I'd love to do a Milton Berle's story. I think he's got a fascinating life.
Have you researched it at all?
Quite a bit.
Oh,
yeah,
you have?
Quite a bit. But he has a play that he's written with a friend of his, Buddy Arnold, who's an old Texaco Star Theater writer.
I was going to say, do you know how to put on a dress?
Can we talk about that now? Sure. I have to ask you about your hair. Can I?
Oh, please!
I love it. Now, it's my turn to turn. Now, at home now, it's more of a red. As now, when I get it, it's more of a purple.
I mean, when you see me on TV,
I see you on TV.
Oh, I'm so glad I have a fan, Frank.
What is the history behind the hair?
I started long ago when it was in London with the punk era.
Yes.
And I had 2 little children, and I was always afraid to get really wild, so I did 2 little strips of hair like this because they were in Catholic school, they were at Good Shepherd, and I knew that I could cover it like this when I'd go in to see Sister. So I did just 2 strips on the side, and they would show what I wanted them to, and they would be put away when I wanted them.
What you don't know is that under the habits, the nuns have the same red hair.
Is that right?
Yes, they do. So.
But Sister kept saying, Joan, Joan. So I always put it away.
See, now everyone knows the history behind that. See, people are dying to know this type of stuff.
You're not supposed to interview me. I'm supposed to be asking
Joan,
you.
thank you for being on the Frank Ferrante show.
Where are you going next, Frank?
Well, what time is it?
Not right
Oh, right now? I'm going to go home and take a nap.
No, not
professionally?
now.
I'm going back east to do a play.
Are you?
Yeah. Some summer stock back there. So, and then I'm going to be staying in LA here and doing the audition route throughout most of the fall. And then I'm going to direct Groucho in Kansas, and then I'm directing a new play in Philadelphia, a 2-person drama I'm going to direct. So that's at the Walnut Street Theater, which is the oldest theater in the country. Beautiful house.
You've been there before.
Yeah.
You've played there before and gotten awards. You've had so many awards for your young life.
I've been fortunate with that, yeah.
We're going to give you an award.
Yes?
The award, the Joan Quinn Award.
I just want these lemons, I'm telling you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Joan.
Oops, he's not very good at any of this.
Wait a minute.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Joan.
Good to have you.
Likewise.
And thanks for watching Frank Ferrante today and Irina Maleeva. We'll see you next time, and keep writing because Frank will write back to you. 520 South Grand, 8th floor.
Thank you, Joan.